Hey everyone, so welcome back. And today I want to talk about the big issue that I see with a lot of parents, and that is that they're concerned because their child has memory and learning issues and wondering where it's stemming from and how to address it so that they're not just, using accommodations permanently, which are definitely helpful temporarily. And so, what I want to talk about today is how memory and learning issues can be linked to your child's infant development and what you can do to improve that if there was these kind of missed milestones or gaps. And there's so many reasons why that can happen, which I'm not going to get into too much today, but I'm going to give you one exercise to address one of the most common reasons why a child can have memory issues. So I like to say that first of all, if I tell you that your child's coordination, balance, their toe walking, being fidgety, having poor, I think I said balance, but not coordination, any kind of sensory motor issues, all of those types of problems, how that can actually be connected to them having poor memory. And if I say that and you're thinking, what? Stay with me, because this is the piece of the puzzle that often gets overlooked and just doesn't get addressed, and why kids turn into adults who continue to have memory issues. So we really need to address those infant reflexes. And if you haven't heard about that, I am going to explain it briefly. But it's really the reason why we end up with these mediocre results. And, we try all these specialists and we go to all these, people and try all these different interventions and kind of left, okay, what else can I do to help improve my kids' learning and so forth? And obviously, we know memory is one of the big things that makes kids if they're just not able to keep up, whether it's with their reading comprehension, whether it's a test they took, whether it's just something going on in class, it's the stuff that just wears away at them very, very slowly, right? And can really affect their self-esteem. And ultimately, it's the reason why some of these kids can't get ahead, never mind stay at grade level. So, first thing you really need to understand, let me know in the comments below if you've heard how the body develops the brain. And I've said this before, and I'll probably say it 100 times more until everybody totally understands that the body is what develops the brain. And until we address the neurological reasons for poor memory, your child's going to be stuck on that hamster wheel of IEPs, tutoring, reduced workload, extra time for tests, visual reminders, all of that type of stuff. That's not bad, but something we certainly don't want to rely on as a permanent solution. So accommodations should equal temporary solution, not permanent fix. And memory issues, have everything to do with those things that I just mentioned in terms of that sensory motor development. And the reason why is something called retained primitive reflexes. So retained primitive reflexes are or something that a baby has, and they have certain reflexes to around 3 years of age, but after that all of the reflexes should disappear. And when I say disappear, meaning it should integrate into the nervous system. It shouldn't be present or showing anymore, basically. So if those reflexes don't integrate, meaning they don't disappear, they don't go away, and they're still presenting, what can happen is they will actually prevent the brain from achieving optimal maturity. Basically, it's going to act as a block or a learning barrier, and not just learning, it'll act as a barrier for your child to achieve optimal motor control, sensory regulation, focus, managing their emotions, reading, writing, learning, memory, all of those types of things. It affects everything. And that is why so often these kids will have glitches that will basically affect all of these other things. It's why these kids will have multiple diagnoses. Let me know in the comments below. Does your child have multiple diagnosis? And this is why the second step or phase in my program, the Full Potential Formula, is in that Better Brain Blueprint. It's all about screening for these retained reflexes and then integrating them. So I'm going to just mention today the top 3 primitive reflexes that can contribute to weak memory, poor memory, whether it's short term, long term, and so forth. And I'm going to get more into that this week. On Thursday, I'm going to be doing a Facebook live training in my my group Building Better Brains, all about nourishing your brain, your child's brain, for optimal memory, and also what screening for what areas are weak so that you know what areas to exercise. So there's that nourish, that biochemical piece, as well as that brain organization piece. So back to reflexes, spinal gallant is really common, especially when kids have focus or ADHD issues. It will affect short-term memory. These kids will be the ones who have a hard time sitting still, even sitting still at the dinner table. They will be fidgety. They might be slouchy, right? That is actually related to a retained reflex. It's not just your child happens to have poor posture or poor gait. This is related to reflexes. The STNR will affect memory, concentration, balance, coordination. So again, all of that ties in. And the TLR will affect sequential memory. So if your child has a hard time remembering the order of events of how something happened in a story they read or something that happened the other day, it could be connected to a retained TLR reflex. And if the TLR is retained, your child may or might still be a toe walker. They might have poor coordination, and again, might have poor posture, or even it might even affect gait. So action plan, what do we do? So number one thing you have to do in order to address this from a root cause perspective is you need to address the underlying reasons, and in order to do that, you need to firstly, number one, you need to screen to see what retained reflexes are present, what areas of the brain are weak, is there a hemispheric imbalance. We screen for all those things in our Better Brain Blueprint. And then the next thing is to strengthen those areas of the brain that are weak through, different exercises and so forth. And so I promised I would give you one exercise that can be really helpful to integrate a reflex that can be present that will affect memory, and that is the spinal gallant. So spinal gallant will affect focus. Like I said, that's the one that'll make kids fidgety. My daughter used to be that kid who could not sit still, falls out of her seat at school, all that type of stuff. So you want to do snow angels. Very simple. Have them do 10 snow angels 3 times, and you want to do that every day in the house, on the floor, just up and down. And you want to see, can they get their hands and arms out, right? Out in sync, so that they're going up and down with their legs and arms at the same time. If your child has significant delays, they might have a hard time coordinating their limbs, both their arms and legs, to do the same thing at the same time. So I am going to be talking more about this on Thursday, where I'm going to be talking about 5 ways to improve memory that you probably haven't tried. That will be, I'll be going live at 12 p.m. Eastern in my Facebook group, Building Better Brains. So do be sure to join. Basically, I'm going to be walking you through a screening to identify what could be weak, what memory could be weakened, and what could be affected, as well as what you can do to nourish and exercise the brain. So let me know in the comments below, does your child have poor posture? Does your child have poor coordination, poor balance? Are they a toe walker? Do they have any sensory, physical, or sensory motor, I meant to say, glitches that you never realized are connected to their poor memory or learning difficulties and so forth? And just to dial back or go back to the spinal gallant, another thing that can affect is a child who's a bedwetter. So not just there's each reflex affects so many other aspects and networks in the brain. So let me know in the comments below what you're seeing, what you're experiencing at home. Do join me, and as always, comment, share, or tag someone who you know could benefit from this video. Have a great day.